Okay, so good morning. We were looking at the vapor power cycles. So, what is a vapor power cycle? It's a modified Rankine cycle. So, in which the working substance is the steam, or we call it as maybe a pure substance. So, yesterday we looked into the expression for the thermal efficiency for a Rankine cycle, and moving further, so we have certain things which we have to check it actually. How we can compare the given Rankine cycle with respect to a Carnot cycle. Now I have put a TS diagram. Okay, I have put a TS diagram. So I have an area. See, 1s, 2, 3s, 4. Okay, so if I consider that, so 1s, 2, 3s, and 4 back to 1s. Okay, back to 1s. If I consider, that is the Rankine cycle area. So if I'm executing the Rankine cycle, that is the area actually. S represents if I'm executing an isentropic process. That's the meaning of it. It's an isentropic process. Now, if I try to look at the other one, what is it actually? It is uh, 4, 5, 4, 1s, 5, 6, and 3s, and back to 4. So I am getting something called as TM1 I have written. What is it actually? Now you have this Rankine cycle area. Okay, I have the same Rankine cycle here. I have the Rankine cycle. If I consider, so if I consider an equivalent Carnot cycle of same Rankine cycle area. That is same Rankine cycle area. That means whatever I want to consider 1s, 2, 3s, 4 and 1s, whatever the area, I am considering that is this area. So if I try to look at, this is the area what I am trying to look at. Okay. So if I consider this particular area, so what I am painting with the yellow color. Okay, this area, this particular area represents the heat supplied. Okay. So if I try to consider, so what is Rankine cycle? Sorry, what is a Carnot cycle? A Carnot cycle is one which consists of two constant temperature process and two isentropic process. That means your TS diagram will look like a square or a rectangle depending upon the pressures and so depending upon the temperatures and pressures. Now, if I try to consider equivalent Carnot cycle area, then what I will do actually, I will try to obtain an area of this particular form. Okay, I will getting an area this. So what I am trying to do now, this area with a complete yellow what I showed earlier, that is an area for your Rankine cycle, and this particular area what I am trying to paint in pink, this is the area for your Carnot cycle, which is of same area. That means for the same heat supplied, if I consider, okay, this will be the area for your Carnot cycle. Now under this condition, so what will happen to your higher temperature? Okay, so T2, see this was the highest possible temperature. Let me call that as some temperature at point 2. Okay, temperature. Now, this temperature will get reduced so that I'm going to get a temperature which is called as mean temperature. Okay, I'm going to get, so now for the Carnot area, what it is actually, it is 4, 1s, 5, 6, 3s and 4. Okay, this is my Carnot cycle area. So when I do this actually, I'm going to get something called as TM1 or whatever it may be. This is your mean temperature. Mean temperature. This is my mean temperature and I'm trying to add heat here. So this is the heat addition. Okay, this everything is heat addition here. Now here also I am adding actually, so that's why this is called as mean temperature of heat addition. Okay, mean temperature of heat addition may be at any given pressure and at any given pressure. At a given pressure. Now, what is the efficiency for your Rankine cycle? Okay, the thermal efficiency for a Rankine cycle. Okay, let me write that. Thermal efficiency for the Rankine cycle. So already we have divided the Rankine cycle. So this will be heat supply. That is, okay, that is the work done, turbine work. If you look at the turbine work, this is actually H2 minus H3S, okay, minus pump work. Actually, this will be H1S minus H4, whole thing divided by heat supplied. That is H2 minus H1S. Okay, H2S means just to tell that this is isentropic. Now I can modify this so that this I can write it as H2 minus H1S minus H3S minus H4 divided by H2 minus H1S, or I can write your thermal efficiency for a Rankine cycle as 1 minus H3S minus H4 divided by H2 minus H1S. If you want, you can write H3 minus H4 divided by H2 minus H1 also, doesn't matter. Okay, you can write, you need not write S also, doesn't matter. Just I am trying to show that this is isentropic, that's why I am writing it. So let me call this as some expression 1. Now we have the TDS equation. Okay, from the TDS equation. Okay, from the TDS equation. So what we have actually, we have two equations. One is TDS is equal to DH minus VDP, Another one is TDS is equal to DU plus PdV, which is already derived in your basic thermodynamics course. Now, if my pressure, say, look at this particular thing. If my pressure is constant, okay, that means if my pressure is constant, what will happen? See, I am trying to supply this is at a particular, look at this. This is at a particular pressure, maybe let me call it as P1. This is at some pressure, P2. If my pressure is kept constant, okay, so this, if I call it as equation number 2, let me call this as equation number 2. If the pressure is kept constant, if the pressure is kept constant, then what is it actually? Then the dP is equal to, pressure difference is 0. Then for heat addition, what will happen? Okay, for heat addition process, okay, for heat addition process, what will happen? I can write the heat addition for this Carnot cycle, I can write Tm1 into, so you know that your dq is equal to this, you hope you remember, maybe del q by T. Okay, hope you remember, if you go back and see, your delta is equal to del q by T. This was derived in your basic thermodynamics course. Or I can write delta S into Ts del q. Okay, heat addition, del q is equal to, heat addition will be equal to your Tm, that is the temperature into your change in entropy. Okay, heat addition is happening at what? S6. So this will be S6 minus S5. Okay, the entropy change is actually, I can write it as S6 minus S5. Okay, this is equal to your DH. Okay, heat addition, that is H2 minus H1. This is from a TDS equation. Now, similarly for the heat rejection process, where the heat rejection is occurring, maybe at temperature, if I call this as, sorry, this I don't call it as T2, let me call this as some Ti, this let me call it as some T2 or T low because I have written that as T2. So if this is Tm1, that is T2. So this will be at that particular temperature S3S minus S4. Okay, S3S minus S4. That is at that particular lower temperature T2 into S3S minus S4, which is equal to H3 minus H4. Okay, which is equal to H3S or whatever it may be minus H4. One is for the heat supply and other is for the heat rejection. Now what I'm going to do actually, substitute for this thing. What is this actually? This is H2 minus H1. Substitute for H2 minus H1 or H2 minus H1S. Okay, H2 minus S6 minus S5. It's not S7. 6 minus S. Okay, this is 5. So that is H1, H2 minus H1. So substitute for H2 minus H1 and H3S minus H4 from this expression in your Rankine efficiency. So substitute for heat addition, that is H2 minus H1S and H3S minus H4 in equation number 1. In equation 1. Then what will happen to your thermal efficiency? Therefore, your thermal efficiency is equal to 1 minus. Okay. So H3 minus H4 I can write it as this will be T2 into S3S minus S4. Okay. S3S minus S4 divided by, okay, Tm1 into, okay, I can write this will be S6 minus S5. Let me call this as equation number 3. Now closely observe. Okay, if you closely observe, this is also S3S, this is also S4. So S6 minus S5 and S3S minus S4 both are same. So entropy change is same. Okay, since S3S minus S4 is equal to S6 minus, that is entropy change is same. Entropy change is same. What will happen to the equation number 3? So both will get cancelled. So therefore, the Rankine thermal efficiency will be equal to 1 minus T2 by Tm1, which is similar to the Carnot efficiency. Okay, why? Because in Carnot efficiency you have seen I used to write in terms of 1 minus T2 by T1. This is the expression what you might have got in your basic thermodynamics course. That means if I consider a mean temperature, my Rankine efficiency looks, or the expression looks very similar to your Carnot efficiency. And this is the advantage of what we call it as Carnotization of any Rankine cycle. That means if I try to get a similar area, that is for the same heat supplied, if I try to bring down the temperature, and so I can verify it, I can check it actually. This is how what we try to do is actually, we try to check your working of a Rankine cycle with respect to Carnot, because Carnot cycle has been proved that this is the Carnot cycle is the one which is the one way which I can get a highest possible efficiency. That is the highest possible efficiency without violating the second law of thermodynamics. Is that clear? So this is how you can get it. Now let's go to this about your Rankine cycle. Now let's try to look at the actual Rankine cycle. Okay, what we have seen just now is an ideal one. Now actual Rankine cycle. Actual Rankine cycle. Okay, I have a sketch. Let me take that sketch and this is the one. Okay. Now look at this actual Rankine cycle, what it is actually. Look at this particular. I'm trying to put a temperature entropy diagram for a actual cycle and superimposing with the ideal cycle. What you see in the dark, actually, see what you are seeing is a continuous line. It is ideal cycle. Okay, that means I'm going to have the, so this is where I'm going to pump. Okay, I'm going to pump and there is a heat addition here and there is a work extraction here, that is in the turbine, and there is a heat rejection here, that is in the condenser. Okay, that's an ideal cycle. So maybe if I try to look at here also, same thing, what I showed the WP here, here heat addition and here heat rejection. Same thing, whatever I showed, no, that I am trying to show it on the right hand side. Pump work is there, turbine work is there, heat addition, heat rejection. Now, if I call A as actual and S as isentropic, which is ideal. Okay, ideal means it is the, S means it is an ideal cycle. Okay, what you have studied in the maybe in the previous class, actually what we have been discussing all this time, okay, that was an ideal cycle. Now, the pump will be, if I try to look at it, maybe you might have studied in your basic thermodynamics course or something. So the compression will be something like this. Say if I consider this is my TS diagram for any compression process, okay, and TS diagram for an expansion process I'm going to write. Okay, this is I'm writing separately so that it will be easy for you to understand. So I'll be having different pressures. Okay, this is a pressure. They're all okay. Now, compression process, if it is ideal, I'll be going like this. And it's an isentropic. Okay, isentropic from the condition 1 to 2. But an actual compressor, if it takes more, okay, if it takes more amount of work, the entropy will be increasing like this. So I'll be going in this direction. Okay, so I may be reaching, so if you call this as 2 dash, this will be the 2. So compressor, pump, they're all work absorbing device. So the same thing is happening here. What you're seeing in the dotted line or your broken line. So what will happen? I'll be doing more amount of work. Okay, actual instead of the ideal isentropic less amount of work, I'll be doing more amount of work on the pump. But what will happen in the pressure? I was supposed to, I'm expecting the pressure to be at a particular pressure of maybe 20 bar or 30 bar, but I may be not getting that particular pressure because they're all maybe real working devices. There may be some leakage and all. So I could see a pressure drop here. I could see a small pressure drop. I could see a small pressure drop. So if suppose if I'm expecting 30 bar as the working pressure in the boiler, I may not see 30 bar, I may see around 28 or 29 bar. So there will be a drop of 1 bar. This is your the actual or ideal one, and this is what I'm going to get actually, the actual one. So the actual pressure will be lesser compared to your ideal pressure. Okay, so that particular thing happens. So this is from P1 to P2. So now if I come to turbine, what will happen? I am going to execute an isentropic expansion. If I'm executing an isentropic expansion, it's a vertical line. Okay. If I'm executing an isentropic expansion, I'll be executing an maybe something like this. The expansion from 1 to 2 dash or 2s, whatever it may be. Now, if it is an actual expansion process, what will happen? The entropy will increase. Okay, entropy will increase and I'll be doing less amount of work. So I'll be going to this particular, I'll follow a path where your work done by a turbine will get reduced because of many factors. There can be friction or there can be leakage or heat taken away, anything, or steam may be not expanded properly, or there may be some kind of an irreversibilities, or there can be some eddies in the turbine. Lot many things are there. So because of that, my turbine will follow this whatever the broken path, that particular path. So if it is an isentropic, I would have come to this particular point. But because of your actual thing, I will be reaching a point which may be dry saturated or which may be in the superheated condition. That's good also. So the actual expansion, even though I'm trying to get a less amount of work, but the condition of steam at the exit is better compared to what isentropic. That's the only advantage what you could see. Okay, that means even if you on the TS diagram, if you try to look at it, 4s maybe your x may be 0.95, at 4a it is 0.98. So the dryness fraction of the steam due to actual expansion in a turbine is better than your isentropic or ideal expansion. But one thing, particular thing is, I will be exiting the steam will be exiting the turbine at a higher pressure. That's the only problem what we could see. If I'm expecting the pressure of the steam at the exit of the turbine to maybe around 0.9 or 0.7 bar, because that will be exiting to condensers. It has to be much below your atmospheric. If it is below your atmospheric pressure, I could see a much better. So instead of below your atmospheric pressure, it may be near to atmospheric pressure. So there may be the heat loss in the your condenser will reduce. Okay, that means I'll be following a path like this. This is the path what I'm going to follow. This path I'm going to follow, the broken line path. So actual pump work, actual heat addition, then actual expansion, and actual heat rejection. So at each and every path, I could see there are irreversibilities. And because of irreversibility, the pump will be extracting more amount of work, and the boiler will see a drop in the pressure, and the condenser will see a drop in the pressure, and the turbine will be doing less amount of work. Okay, so this is what we could expect from an actual cycle. So what will happen because of this? So if I consider the pump, okay, if I consider the pump, so let me consider the pump and try to find the efficiency of the pump. What is the efficiency? The efficiency is nothing but your actual work, okay, actual work to your ideal work. If I try to express in terms of your enthalpies, that is H2S minus H1 divided by H2 minus H1 or H2A minus H1. That is your actual one is actually I am trying to, okay, I am trying, so this is actually ideal to actual. Pump, no, this work absorbed device. This will be ideal to actual. Okay, this is actually, this is H2S minus H1 divided by your actual will be H2A or H2, whatever the way I want, I can write it, H2 minus H1. Or I can write your actual one, it's actually H2 minus H is equal to your pump efficiency multiplied by your isentropic enthalpy drop. So let me call this as equation number 1. Now what will happen to your turbine? Okay, what will happen to your turbine? So if I consider the turbine, so the turbine efficiency is given by, here it is the ratio of actual work to ideal work. So what is the actual work? Actually this will be H3 minus H4, H3 minus H4 divided by your H3 minus H4S. Or what I can write actually, your H3 minus H4. Okay, so this will be, sorry, divided by pump efficiency. This is divided by pump efficiency. H2 minus H1 divided by pump. This will be H2S minus H1 divided by pump efficiency. This will be the turbine efficiency into H3. Okay, this is H3S, H3 minus H4S, H3 minus H4s. So this is what I am going to get it. Now, just now we have found what is actually, then what is your Rankine? See, the Rankine cycle efficiency. The Rankine cycle, the Rankine cycle thermal efficiency. The Rankine cycle thermal efficiency is given by this expression. That is, thermal efficiency is just now we have found 1 minus H3 minus H4s, okay, H3 minus H4s divided by H2 minus H3. Okay, H2 minus, what is the expression? So it is H2 minus H1s. H2 minus H1s. H2 minus H1s. So now I will try to substitute for this particular thing. So H2 minus H1s I can write it as, okay, H2 minus H1s. That is for your pump. I can, so for your this particular thing I can write it as pump efficiency into your H2 minus H1, and H3 minus H4s I can write it as H3 minus H4 divided by turbine efficiency. So this is equal to 1 minus H3 minus H4s I can write it as H3, okay, this will be H3 minus H4, this will be H3 minus H4, okay, that's actual, divided by the turbine efficiency divided by, so H2 minus H, so H2 minus H1s I can write it as your pump efficiency into H2 minus H1. Okay, so if I do it, so I'll be, so what will happen? Say for example, your turbine efficiency is 0.9. Okay, your turbine efficiency is 0.9, and your actual, so your uh, uh, maybe your pump efficiency is around 85%. So I could see a drop in your Rankine cycle efficiency because of this kind of actual working conditions. So there is a irreversibilities. There may be n number of things may be happening. Once I speak of irreversibilities, there can be friction, there can be pressure loss, there can be maybe a draw, maybe eddy formation. So the fluid expansion may be not proper, or what is the quantity of the fluid that's going in, that is the steam that is going in, maybe not proper. It may be blockage. Lot many things are there. If you go and look at any basic thermodynamics for irreversibility, so you can see lot many things are there. Maybe a drop in the maybe your heat, or maybe unrestrained heat expansion. Lot many things are there. So all these things will bring down your thermal efficiency. What I can do, this is your actual. This is the actual thermal efficiency. I can write your actual thermal efficiency, okay, is less than your theoretical efficiency for a Rankine cycle. If it is 90% for a theoretical Rankine cycle, but for an actual cell, it will be around 80-82%. So I could see a good amount of reduction in the Rankine cycle efficiency due to your what we call it as a actual working conditions. Is it clear? Okay. Now, let us go to the this is about your actual Rankine cycle. Let's go to the next topic. Is it clear? Any doubts? If there are no doubts, we can go to the next topic. Okay, fine. It looks like no doubts. Let's go to the next topic, which is called as reheating. Okay, a reheat cycle or reheating. Reheat cycle or reheating. Okay, now if I want to increase the thermal efficiency of any vapor power cycle plant or steam power plant, we adopt two methods. One is reheating and other one is regeneration. Okay, what is this reheating? So the reheating or We call it as, I think some of the books they call it as superheating. Reheating or superheating is a method of extracting the steam from the lower pressure. Okay, extracting the stream from a particular pressure in the turbine, okay, and sending it to a superator, reheat it and send it for further expansion and this is called as and reheat it to its initial temperature so that the overall thermal efficiency can improve. So that's the meaning of it. So if I try to put a schematic diagram of a reheat cycle, what it will be, what it looks like. Okay, let me put it something like this. So I do have a boiler. Okay, I have a boiler. Okay, so this is a boiler which is used for steam generation. Now this boiler is connected to what we have actually a superator. Okay, the boiler is connected to a superator. Okay, superator, and then so this superator is there. So let me take it as this as a superator. From this superator, this is a superator. Now from this actually the steam will go. So steam will go to your turbine. So the steam will go your turbine. This is what is going to happen. I could see a turbine here. This is my turbine, which is for expansion. Okay. Now what I'm going to do actually, this is a turbine. So this may be something like assume that this is of some four stages or 5 stages. Let's assume 4 stages. After 2 stages, so the first 2 stages are low pressure turbines stage and the next 2 stages are high pressure stage actually. What I am going to do, I am going to bleed it. Okay, I am going to take a part of this particular thing and take it back to your steam. So I am going to put it back in your superator. Okay, I am going to put it back in your superator for reheating. I am going to absorb certain amount of steam from your this thing. I will take it through your superator here. So this is the superator. Okay, this is my superator. I will take it and then I will put it back in the steam at this particular pressure. Okay, at this particular pressure. They are not touching. So I'm going to put it back in your turbine again. I'm going to put it back in your turbine again. Okay, then this gets expanded. This gets expanded like this. This gets expanded like this, and it will go to the condenser. Okay, it will go to a condenser here. I may be having this is a condenser. Okay, where we circulate the feed water. Okay, and then this will come back to, I have a pump here. I have a pump. So here I have a pump. So this is my pump actually. Small pump is there. And this is connected to your condenser. A simple schematic diagram will look something like this. Okay. So what will happen? So what will happen this particular thing? That means I'm going to bleed a part of the steam. That means if I'm supplying certain amount of 1 kg of steam to your turbine, after expansion, I'm going to take a part of it and reheat it. So I'm going to take the complete it. So if I take a part of it and do something, that's called as regeneration. If I'm going to take the complete steam, reheat it and send it back to the higher stages, it's called as reheating. Okay, so let me represent it on a TS diagram, how it looks like. TS diagram, how it looks like. So this is my TS diagram, temperature entropy diagram. Okay, temperature entropy diagram. So it's always better to show it on a temperature entropy diagram, where you can show things in a much better fashion. Okay, this is my temperature, this is my entropy. Okay, I am going to show the dome. Okay, this is my simple dome. So this is my dome, and I'm going to execute a particular pressure. So how the this particular thing heating will takes place. The heating will takes place in this direction, maybe from this particular point. I'll call that particular point later on. Okay. Now this will go to a particular point. Then this is what I'm going to see. Then it goes to your superheated condition. Okay. Then what I'm going to do, it gets expanded here. Okay. To particular condition. Maybe it may be near dry actually. After expansion, so this will come to a near dry condition. This is what we could see, a near dry condition. Then I am going to reheat again to the same temperature. It is not a straight line. This is a curved line. This is at some pressure. Okay. Then I will try to expand it in my higher pressure turbines. And then I am going to reach this particular point. This is my heat rejection in the condenser. This is my heat rejection in the condenser. So what is it actually? I am trying to see, because of this particular thing, there is a good amount of heat addition takes place. What is the extra heat addition I am taking place? If you try to closely observe, okay, if you try to closely observe, this is the extra heat addition I am trying to do. Okay, I am trying to add this amount of heat. This is the extra heat I am trying to add. Okay, this is the extra heat I am trying to add it. Then what is the advantage of adding this heat? What is the advantage of adding this? So if I call this as maybe this particular thing. So this is, I think I forgot. I should have done this particular thing. So this is the extension. Yes. Okay. If I call, let me name this. If I call this as 1, okay, it will go to the point 2, okay, then it gets expanded. So the actual expansion, let me call it as 3s. Okay. Now, when it's expanding, what happened to this particular pressure? There is an intermediate pressure here. There is an intermediate pressure here. So this is a pressure. If I try to look at it, there is an intermediate pressure of expansion. Okay, there is an intermediate pressure of expansion. Okay, then it will go to the 0.4. Then it will come to 0.5. Okay, then it will come to 0.6. Okay, that means if I try to represent the same thing over here, so here this is 1, or 1, if you want you can call it as 1s because of the isentropic. Okay, 1s, here also it is 1s. Okay, 1s from, sorry, this is 6 actually. This is the 0.6, this particular 0.6. This is 1s, this particular point. This is 1s, this is the 0.6 actually. So 1s to your boiler, where I am sending it to boiler. So this is 0.2. Okay, this is, I am sending it to 0.2. Okay, then this is what I could see, the expansion. This is your 0.3. Okay, this is your 0.3. So that means then it will go back to your superator. Then I am trying to put it back in the turbine. This is 0.4. Okay, then what it is getting expanded is 0.5. Now what is it actually turbine? See, turbine, so as I told, it's divided into two parts. Okay, the whole turbine is divided into two parts. Okay, the whole turbine will be divided into two parts like this. I'm trying to show you what is inside. Okay, inside this is called as, okay, a high pressure turbine, and this is called as a low pressure turbine. PT and this thing. So HPT means high pressure turbine, high pressure turbine, and LPT means actually it is a low pressure turbine. Low pressure turbine. So when we try to do this, actually, I am trying to add, this is the extra I am trying to add. And if you look at this particular temperature, see if I try to look at this particular temperature, what is this temperature? Temperature, so this temperature, that is T2 is equal to T4. I am going to reheat the steam to its same temperature. Reheat the steam to its same temperature. Okay. Now, one more thing is actually we try to use this, instead of TS diagram, we try to use an HS diagram. Okay. Can we represent the same operation on HS diagram? Let me do that. Okay. This is my enthalpy and entropy diagram. Okay. This is my enthalpy diagram, HS diagram, which is also called as the Mollier diagram. Okay. I do have the dry, so I do have the dry saturation line, or this particular line. Let me draw it a little bigger so that it will be easy for you to understand. This is my dry saturation line, and you will be having the lot of what we call it as dryness fraction lines. Okay, so the dryness fraction line will be going something like this. Okay, these are my dryness fraction lines. Let me draw some 2 or 3 dryness fraction lines. These are my dryness fraction lines. So if I try to show the expansion, okay, so that 1 to 2, so that is, this is point, okay, this is point 1, okay, this is my point 1s or something. Then I could see there is a pressure, so there is the pressure which is going like this is my pressure. The boiler heat addition will do this particular thing. So usually that's going to a particular point, that is your 2. And if I try to draw a constant temperature line, or your the temperature in the superheated condition, it will be like this. So this is my superheated temperature T2. Okay. Now I am going to expand it. So expand it to till it is dry condition. I will expand it to till dry condition. So intermediate, I have a pressure there. So I have a pressure here. Look at this. I have a pressure here. This is my pressure. Okay, I have a pressure. So use another color. Okay, I have a pressure something like this. This is my pressure expansion. So I am going to heat along this particular point. If that is the pressure, I am going to heat along that particular pressure. Okay, I am going to heat it. I am going to heat it. So this is the path I am going to follow. Going into its, that is the point. So this is 3s and this is my 4. Then I'm going to expand it. I'm going to expand it. Okay, I may be expanding to some dryness fraction line. Okay, if I would have been expanded without any kind of reheating, okay, I would have reached point. I will show that also. Okay, this is what I'm going to condenser. So this is the condenser pressure, and I'm going to reheat. That is, I'm going to reject the heat in this particular thing. So this is the path I'm going to follow. This is the expansion in high pressure turbine. This is the expansion in low pressure turbine, and this thing. If I would have followed a path without reheating, I would have reached this dryness fraction. So my dryness fraction at this particular point is X. Okay, that is, maybe this is your, let me call it as, this is the point 5. This is the point 5. Okay, this maybe if I call it a maybe 5 dash or something, let me call this as some 5 dash, which is the imaginary. So this is my dryness fraction, maybe x5 or something. If this would have been x5 dash, your x5 is much better compared to higher compared to your x5s. If this is my pressure, higher pressure, this is the boiler pressure P1, this is my condenser pressure P2, this is my intermediate pressure Pi. That's the reheating, and this is your critical point. All these things, if you look at it, I could see what is the amount of, see, you know that in HS diagram, see, I'm trying to explain you that there is an increase in heat addition. Can we try to show it on a PV diagram? We can show it on a PV diagram also. I can show it on HS diagram. I can show it on a PV diagram, doesn't matter. So what it is actually, because of this, I could see there is an addition here. So what is the addition? This is the addition. This is the amount of extra heat I'm putting, and because of that there is an extra, so enthalpy work done is actually, it is a drop in enthalpy, there is an increase in enthalpy change. Look at this, what's happening here. So even though you are adding something, there is an increase in my your enthalpy. That means I am trying to do more amount of work. I am trying to extract more amount of work because of your reheating. Because of the reheating, I'm supplying certain amount of heat. At the same time, I'm utilizing the what would have been gone as an waste heat energy. What would have gone as a waste energy in a superheater? I'm going to utilize that heat and I'm going to reuse it and increase my thermal efficiency. So that is the advantage of reheating. Let me write that. Hope you understand everything whatever I explained. So TS diagram and HS diagram. I put the coloring and all, so it will be easy for you to explain and it will be for you to understand. Okay. Let me go to what exactly we studied. So due to reheating, the quantity of the steam after expansion is better. That we have seen. Due to reheating, the quality of the steam, the quality of the steam after steam after expansion in the high pressure turbine, after expansion in the high pressure turbine is, in the high pressure turbine is better, is better. So the dryness fraction is more. What is the advantage of it? So this will reduce the corrosion, pitting problems on the turbine blades. This will reduce the corrosion, okay, corrosion, pitting of blades, okay, pitting problems. Those are some of the problems on the turbine blades, on the turbine blades. So pitting means the material removal. So if because of the content, because of the wet content, your turbine blades, certain amount of material will get reduced. Okay. Now let us try to come back to your HS diagram. This thing. What is the heat addition here? The heat addition, if instead of 1s, I can take it as 1 also, doesn't matter. The heat addition in the boiler is H2 minus H1. The heat addition in the superheater again is reheating is H3 minus H4 minus H3s or H4 minus H3, doesn't matter. So the heat supplied, so therefore the heat supplied due to reheating or in a reheat cycle. So the heat supplied, I call it as QH is equal to H2 minus H1, that is in the boiler, what is the first time, then it is H4 minus H3 in the superheater due to reheating. Okay, this may be in the boiler, the earlier, this is in the reheating, the superheater, reheating in superheater. This is extra heat what I'm trying to Get it? Okay. Now, what is the work done in the turbine? Okay. So, work done in the turbine. Work done in the turbine. Okay, let me call that as WT. Let's go back this. I am trying to get one extra here. So this, if I call this as WT1, this as WT2. So work WT1 is the work done in the, see, WT1 is the work done in the high pressure turbine. High pressure turbine. And WT2 is the work done in the low pressure turbine. Low pressure turbine. So what is the total work done? You have to add it. So this will be H2 minus H3 plus H4 minus H5. Okay. So the total turbine work is actually H2 minus H3 plus H4 minus H5. I am going to add everything. What is the work supplied to the pump? Okay. Work supplied to pump. Work supplied to the, that is WP. That remains the same. It is H1 minus H6. Okay. H1 minus H6. I can write it as H1 minus H6. So what is net work done? Okay. Therefore, net work done. Net work done. That is W net is equal to turbine work minus pump work. That is equal to H2 minus H3 plus H4 minus H5 minus pump work is H1 minus H6. That is your net work done. So if I call this as equation number, let me put equation numbers. If I call this as equation number 1, so this as equation 2, this as equation 3, this as equation 4. Now what is the thermal efficiency for the cycle? Okay. What is the thermal efficiency? Thermal efficiency is nothing but net work done by heat supplied. Okay. The thermal efficiency which is given by net work done by heat supplied. What are the heat supplied? What is the net work done? Just now we have got the expression. That is equation number 4. H2 minus H3 plus H4 minus H5, okay, minus H1 minus X6. Whole thing divided by, what is your heat supply? This is equation number 1. H2 minus H1 plus H4 minus H3. H2 minus H1, H2 minus H1 plus, okay, H4 minus H3. So this will be the expression for your thermal efficiency. So is it possible for us to simplify this? So no further simplification because most of all the enthalpies are different. Let me call this as equation number 5. But there are cases where the pump work is negligible. Okay. If the pump work is negligible, if the pump work is negligible, what it is actually, your pump work is almost 0. In that case, what will happen? H1 minus H6 is absent. So for this case, the thermal efficiency is given by, your W net is actually what it will be? H2 minus H3 plus H4 minus H5 whole thing divided by H2 minus H1 plus H4 minus H3. So this is equation number 6. Now, very one close observation, let's see. What is this point 4 and your 2? If you closely observe on an HS diagram, this particular curve, that is T2 curve, it is not a straight line. That means if I try to draw a line, see this particular thing, this is not a straight line. This is not a straight line. This is a curved line. Look at this. This is a curved line. This is for H2, and this is for H4. I could see an advantage over there. Because of reheating, the enthalpy of that is H4. So because of reheating, the H4 is slightly higher than your H2. That you can observe very closely because of the curvature of your superheated temperature. And one more thing, if I try to execute only your an ideal single cycle, Rankine cycle, I'll be following a path 1s, 2, 3 and 5-6. So the area under this particular thing, if I try to look at it, this particular area is much lesser compared to other area. That is, if I consider 1s, 2, 3s, 4, 5 and 6 and we'll come back to 1s. So area wise, the heat utilization and the work getting what I'm emitting the network, both are significantly increased, which is significant. That is, even the denominator, I could see, denominator was only earlier it was 1 minus H2 minus H3 minus H4 divided by H2 minus H1. So I used to have only one delta Hs, that is enthalpy changes. But here I am trying to get, there is a heat addition in the same boiler, there is a heat addition in the superheater due to reheating. So there is so that's because of this, maybe you are in the heat supply condition. And when it comes to turbine, there is an expansion in the high pressure turbine, there is an expansion in the low pressure turbine. So these two conditions are there. So both the conditions are advantages. And all these things are nothing but superheating. See, the superheating, if you try to look at it, the superheating has reduced. So first time also I am trying to superheat. The second superheating has increased the condensation. That is, increase the condensation losses, or condensation loss means the condition of the steam at this particular point. It's much better. Otherwise, this condensation would have started here. So because of this, I could see a good amount of good condensation efficiency, or your condenser efficiency will improve. When the condenser efficiency improves, your turbine efficiency improves, the overall efficiency of the whole power plant will increase by few percent. So instead of maybe if the overall efficiency is 65%, because of reheating, it may go to 68 or 70%. So all these things are happening just because of reheating. All this happening because of the reheating conditions. So this is how, so the advantage of reheating. So we can write that actually. If you want, we can write that, whatever we studied. So advantages of reheating. Advantages of reheating. The first one. So there is an increased output in the turbine. There is an increased output from the turbine. That is, I'm going to have a high pressure turbine as well as a low pressure turbine. Combined output is much better. Okay, the final dryness fraction of the steam is improved. The dryness fraction of the steam has improved after expansion. So of the steam has improved due to reheating. This is the second advantage. So there is an increase in the efficiencies. Okay, there is an increase in there is an increase in there is an increase in the overall efficiency. Overall efficiency. Because I could see there is an increase in your pump, turbine, all the things. So there is an increase in my overall thermal efficiency also will increase. There is an increase in your overall efficiency. That's one more advantage. The third, maybe because of the improvement in the dryness fraction of the steam, maybe what I told, erosion or corrosion problems of the steam, or can be avoided or can be minimized. Corrosion and erosion problem. The corrosion and erosion problems. The corrosion and erosion problems on the turbine blade. So on the corrosion and the erosion problems in the turbine blades. The turbine blades, or maybe we can call it as, or maybe we can't call it as removed or minimized. Okay, or maybe we can avoid it to a certain extent. Avoid it to a certain extent. You can't completely eliminate it. Certain extent. We can't completely eliminate it, but we can improve that condition. The fifth one. Overall, see, when I speak of overall efficiency, there is an increase in thermal efficiency. There is an significant increase. Significant increase in thermal efficiency. Thermal efficiency. These are some of the points. Okay. Now, but that's a peak of advantages. There is a disadvantage also. There is a disadvantage. What could be this? If I try to see, because of the reheating, I will be having so many piping and all. Okay, I'll be have to do piping from 3 to 4 and come back, all those things and all. And I have to divide the turbine into 2 sections and all. All this will increase the expenditure and maintenance. So the maintenance expenditure, the cost of the whole turbine will increase. So the total cost will increase. Total cost as well as the maintenance of your power plant or turbine will increase. So the reheating, that's the only major disadvantage. This will, the reheating will, it increases the cost. Okay, it increases the cost of the turbine, increases the cost of the turbine and its maintenance and its maintenance. This is the major disadvantage what we could call from reheating. Okay, so when I speak of these things, so reheating, how advantage it is, how disadvantage it is, this is what we can